Well, look at that. Good morning. Let's see, the water cooker is still on. We're getting ready to start this morning's workout. It is 5:15 a.m. Turning off the sound because it seems to be working. I forgot my heart rate monitor. I'll be right back. While we collect this before we get started. It's always a bit messy when you haven't worked out for a couple of days. All of the little steps before we start up a stream. We need to lay them out, make sure you follow them. Yeah, it's a routine, but routines should also be somewhat simple. There we go. Now we're back. I'm going to get started. Good morning, friends. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing all right. I know I'm doing well. We're going to do a slight mix today of mobility and conditioning. So we're going to start off with some mobility exercises, and then we're going to move on to and every minute on a minute kettlebell set. But I just think it's important to start off easy and light because my left foot, it's not hurting, but something's up with it. So I need to take it easy. But I do need to do something and start moving again for those 30 minutes in the morning in a more intense way. So we're going to do a bit of a mix, some big mobility exercises. That's not going to take too long. And then off the back of that, I'm going to do a little bit of kettlebelling and get started. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I'm 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to get between 7 and 9 hours in a night. This was the first night in a while that I got 8 full hours of sleep. Thanks for dropping by on the vertical stream. The sound's better on my channel on the horizontal stream, but I appreciate you dropping by there. If you want to check it out on my channel, there's a full stream with proper sound as well. I do so by minding what I eat. Try to eat within my energy balance. I try to eat lots of greens, nutritional, healthy foods. I try to meet my protein goal on days where I train with weights to make sure that I'm eating sufficient protein to get to stay on track with my strength and muscle building goals for living. I try to spend time with people I love and care about, and generally do things that I enjoy, so live a stress-free life. Anyway, if any of that's interesting to you, you go ahead, check out my channel, and we can continue the conversation if you subscribe and drop by either for some of my training videos, some of my vlogs, or during one of my streams for my podcast where I talk about different topics related to health and fitness. In any case, we are going to get started this morning because the only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So we're going to hit the timer and we're going to kick off with some mobility. All right. Let's see. Patty, thanks for dropping by. Tempest and Victoria said hi. Thanks for dropping by, saying hi. And like I said, I have a different stream set up on my channel, so feel free to drop by there and we can have the conversation. I have better sound here on this stream to talk about health and fitness, and I appreciate you dropping by. And if you have any questions on stream, you go ahead and you let me know. You ask away in the chat, and we can have a conversation about what's going on in health and fitness. So how was your weekend? What were you up to over the weekend? And tell me in chat. Because where I'm at, it is Monday morning. And Monday morning, we are getting ready to go back to work. But it was a good weekend. Pleasant, extremely hot, like summerishly hot weather, which I think will persist for a while, which I don't know, could be a blessing, could be a curse. Depending on how you look at it. Maybe 30 degrees is a bit too hot. 22, 23, sunny. It's probably more than fine. So my brain is taking its time to wake up and to do its thing. Because I slept 8 hours for the first time, I think, in 4 or 5 days. If I sleep 8 hours, it means my children might slit that 10-hour mark that they need, which is good, which is what we're aiming for. Because children need their sleep to recover and rest and grow. And they need a lot more of it than us adults. So I call that a win. So, when it comes to getting and staying fit, yeah, I think it's important to realize that it's a combination of how well we're sleeping, with how well we're eating, with how well we move. That's going to really do it for us. And we just need to be mindful and aware that in that combination, we maybe need to make some different choices than what we're doing today in order to get the most out of our bodies and our minds for as long as we're going to be alive. So here we're trying to get some stretch into that full chain from my right shoulder all the way down to my left leg. And all of that is being done to improve the mobility of my right shoulder, which is where we have one of the main issues. At the same time, here we'd want to improve the full range of motion on that ankle joint. Whatever that's going to take to get that better mobility in. Because being able to move well without inhibition and restriction is a key way to keep ourselves active and engaged throughout our lives, and places where we start to lose mobility are places where we don't usually bring our body in terms of range of motion. And to be very honest, it's actually a bit of a shame, because there is so much that we can do if we would be willing to put some time and effort into regaining a lot of our mobility and our ability to move and use our body well, by getting that depth in squat, for example, and being able to squat down and sit and relax at the bottom of that squat for a bit. And this is one of the ways to get that, because if you would do this motion on a vertical plane of motion, then you would be squatting quite literally. I'm going to move on to some hip mobility, and then we're going to move on to the kettlebells as well. You know, I honestly wish that I had started a routine like this 10 years ago. I would probably be in a very different state and shape physically than I am today. But it's never too late to start. It's always good to get started and to do new things and to learn new things like kettlebell. And by routine, by the way, I mean the daily habit of trying to get between 2 and 2.5 hours of exercise in. To give you an idea, I used to think 3 times a week hitting the gym 30, 45 minutes was sufficient. And that is sufficient in a way to reach some physical goals and to mix gym going into my life. But what I missed out on in that equation was the ability to actually make my life in general more active and that, I think, has been a net loss on my end, not having been able to actually get to that active lifestyle as much as I see it benefits me today. But hey, who has 2.5 hours in a day to move around, right? Well, we do 30 minutes. And we do a 1 hour walk. So we've already got 1.5 hours in. And then from there, we can do a whole bunch of different exercises, like take stairs, ride a bike to work, or walk to and from the grocery store, walk around the block, take some meetings while we walk. All simple ideas to get a bit more movement in throughout the day, throughout the week, for our own benefit. It's actually not very hard to do. We just need to do it. I think that's where a lot of the difficulty comes from and starts from. Okay, I'm going to do these exercises in mobility that are specific to my shoulder mobility. So like 20 years of a bad shoulder. Yeah. It's just not going to disappear. Overnight. It is going to take time to let that fascia, the neuromuscular memory, the new range of motion to settle in. But on the other side of that process lies quite a bit of freedom. And I think that's important to keep in mind and remember when we're working on such things. Is that there is a slight difference between using your body and using your body well. All right, we're going to move on to a little bit of kettlebelling, and we are going to get started very simply with a little kettlebell flow. It's going to be a few minutes. I just need to see how my foot will respond to this kind of exertion. We have a deadlift, we have a row, we have a clean, we have a squat, press back down to a deadlift, row, clean, squat, press back down, deadlift, row, clean, squat, press, setting it back down. We're going to do 5 kettlebell swings on the left, 5 kettlebell swings on the right. And that is round 1. Let's take a break, catch our breath. And we're going to do this again in a moment. Like I said, nice and easy, simple kettlebell. It's about 10 minutes. And we're just trying to see where we land with our foot, with my foot in particular, today and tomorrow, how it responds to being used properly again. Deadlift, row, squat, press, set it down, you do deadlift, no row, squat, press, and set it down, deadlift, row, squat, press, set it down, deadlift, row, squat, press, set it down, deadlift, row, squat, press, and we set it down, and we're going to start those swings. I have a feeling we can do some more swings. So I'm going to do 5, 5, 5, and 5. All right. I'm going to slowly start building up that strength and conditioning with a load. That was the second set. We're going to the third set. Remember your technique. Just take it slow. Proper deadlift. Thrusting from the hips and the hamstrings. Making sure that we feel that tension there. Because those are the muscles that we want to train. All right. So I'm going to do 5, 5, 5, 5. Let's see how that goes. There we go. Okay, that was the third set, going on to the fourth set, and I appreciate you dropping by, saying hi. Appreciate you dropping by, saying hi, and thanks for being here over on my channel. There's a horizontal live stream with a better sound quality. If you're already on the horizontal live stream, don't go anywhere, but you can stay, and we're simply doing some light exercises for beginners with the kettlebell, focusing on the movement and the motion, getting a little bit of benefit from the cardiovascular challenge that comes with it. And just nice, light, and easy. And that's all we need sometimes. There we go. 5 times left, 5 times right on the kettlebell swing. See, you get to a point in life where you understand that going hard isn't the only mode by which to live. And once you get to that point and you understand what that implies, there is the freedom to choose different paces in life to get to different sets of goals that you might have. Last set, deadlift, row, squat, press, put it down, deadlift, row, clean, squat, press, set it down, deadlift, row, clean, nope, squat, press, set it down, deadlift, row, squat, press, set it down, last one, deadlift, row, clean, squat, press, set it down. And we're going to go for those final swings this morning. And that was just 10 minutes of activity. Pretty sure we elevated my heart rate slightly. Not to crazy levels. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're done. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to be back with full mobility and core. And this morning we're going to call it quits here. 5:50 a.m. Friends, thanks for dropping by, for saying hi. Hope you're doing well. Hope you got inspired by the workout. Maybe saw something you liked and enjoyed. For those of you who are watching, my name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I get between 7 and 9 hours a night. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance. I try to eat a lot of whole foods, lots of greens, and those fibers in, those nutrients in, sufficient protein to meet my strength, muscle building goals, but not ridiculous amounts. My goal is weight maintenance, building muscle, reducing lean mass, and that's what my nutrition and training is geared towards: cardiovascular health, strength, muscle building. And I might be adding some speed drills over time, but we'll get to that later. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. If you're on the stream, go over to my channel, check it out, and see if there's stuff there that you like. I'm on day 519, I think, where I've showed up and done some actual work. The goal is to be here every day, barring injuries, illness, or other events or commitments that prevent me from showing up in the morning and doing 30 minutes of any kind of movement just to have a good start of the day. That's what these live streams are about. I know it's evening for you, but this is one of the ways that I enjoy starting my day, and maybe there's some inspiration there for you for 30 minutes to keep moving. Remember, friends, the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So hit like, subscribe, share my videos with a friend, come chat with me in chat, and we can continue the conversation. All right? And I'll see you tomorrow. Friends here, dropping by. Paul, thanks for dropping by, saying hi. Everyone on this chat as well. Victoria, 911, thanks for saying hi as well. Patty Smith, Tempest, thanks for dropping by. I hope you're all doing well. And like I said, the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So go over to my channel, hit like, subscribe, and maybe we can continue the conversation about health, fitness, and longevity. The only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. Take care, friends. And remember, friends, subscribe.